breaking news. King Charles just delivered the most devastating public rebuke of a sitting Prime Minister in 300 years, and what happened next inside Parliament could topple the entire Labour government by Friday. Just 47 minutes ago, during a completely unexpected address at the Royal Society, King Charles did something no modern monarch has ever dared to do. He didn't just break protocol, he shattered it completely. And the Prime Minister's response? Sources inside Number 10 say Keir Starmer went absolutely nuclear. If you want to see how this constitutional crisis explodes over the next 72 hours, smash that subscribe button right now, because this story is moving faster than anything we've seen in British politics. Here's what sparked this unprecedented royal intervention. 3 days ago, Starmer stood in the House of Commons and announced sweeping constitutional reforms that would permanently reduce the monarchy's ceremonial powers. His language was blunt, almost contemptuous. "We must drag Britain's institutions into the 21st century, he declared, even if some prefer to cling to medieval fantasies. The chamber erupted. Conservative MPs roared objections. Even some Labour backbenchers looked uncomfortable. But Starmer wasn't backing down. He doubled down instead, suggesting that royal expenditures needed serious democratic oversight. Palace officials were stunned. For 3 days, they stayed silent, following centuries of tradition that says the Crown never responds to political attacks. Until this morning, when everything changed. At 10:47 this morning, King Charles arrived unannounced at the Royal Society in London. No advance warning, no press briefing, no prepared remarks distributed to media. Just the King, a podium, and what witnesses describe as barely controlled fury. The room was packed with Britain's most distinguished scientists, historians, and constitutional scholars. Charles took the stage, adjusted his notes, and delivered words that are already being called the most politically charged royal speech since the abdication crisis of 1936. His exact words were chilling and deliberate. For centuries, this nation has thrived because our institutions understood something profound. Stability requires continuity, and continuity requires respect. He paused, letting that word hang in the air like a blade. When leaders casually dismiss traditions that have protected British liberty for generations, when they mistake longevity for weakness, they risk unraveling the very fabric that holds civilized society together. The room went absolutely silent. Everyone knew exactly who he meant. Charles continued, his voice rising with unmistakable passion. Democracy is not served by tearing down institutions simply because they are old. It is served by honoring the wisdom embedded in those institutions, by understanding that not everything new is progress, and not everything old is obsolete. The response was swift and absolutely devastating for Starmer. Within 20 minutes, the video clip was trending on every social platform. Twitter exploded with hashtag #DefendTheKing, hitting #1 globally within an hour. TikTok users shared the clip 400,000 times before noon. But here's what's really remarkable. It wasn't just Conservative voters celebrating. Lifelong Labour supporters were openly applauding the King's courage. Margaret Wilson, a 71-year-old retired NHS nurse from Manchester, posted a video that's now gone viral with 1.8 million views. "I voted Labour my entire life," she said, tears streaming down her face. "But I cannot support a government that attacks our King." Charles was absolutely right to speak out. Someone had to say it. That sentiment is spreading like wildfire through Labour's traditional heartlands. The polls tell a catastrophic story for Starmer. A Snap YouGov survey released just 90 minutes ago shows public approval for the monarchy surging to 81%, the highest in a decade. Meanwhile, Starmer's personal approval rating has collapsed to just 31%, down a staggering 11 points in 3 days. In key Labour constituencies, Liverpool, Newcastle, Birmingham support has cratered by double digits overnight. Nearly 58% of voters now say Starmer's constitutional reforms go too far. This isn't just bad polling, this is electoral annihilation in real time. But wait, because there's another devastating layer to this polling collapse that hasn't been reported yet. The demographic breakdown reveals something absolutely shocking. Among voters aged 55 and over, the people who actually turn out to vote in British elections, Starmer's support has fallen to just 19%. 19%. That's lower than Michael Foot in 1983, lower than Gordon Brown in 2010. These are historically catastrophic numbers. And it gets worse. Among women over 60, traditionally a core Labour demographic, Approval for Starmer's handling of this crisis sits at 14%. 14%. Political scientists are calling these numbers unprecedented. Professor Sarah Mitchell from Cambridge University told the BBC just an hour ago, "I've studied British polling data for 30 years. I have never seen a Prime Minister lose public confidence this quickly among this many voter groups simultaneously. This is a political earthquake." But here's the truly devastating part. These aren't just people who disapprove of Starmer's policies. These are voters who say they feel personally betrayed by what they see as an attack on Britain itself. Focus groups conducted overnight reveal something remarkable. Voters aren't using words like disagree or concerned. They're using words like disgusted, ashamed, and heartbroken. One 68-year-old woman from Cornwall, a Labour voter since 1979, told researchers, "He's made me embarrassed to be Labour. I never thought I'd say that." This is emotional, visceral rejection. And when voters reach that point, political recovery becomes nearly impossible. Meanwhile, the people Starmer claims to represent working-class British families are watching this spectacle with mounting disgust. James Patterson, a 64-year-old lorry driver from Yorkshire, told reporters outside his local pub, "I work 50 hours a week and can barely afford my heating bills. And this is what the Prime Minister spends his time on? Attacking the King? It's an absolute disgrace." His story is repeated across Britain. Pensioners who've paid taxes for 50 years are seeing their winter fuel allowances cut, while Starmer wages ideological war against the monarchy. Veterans who served the Crown in the Falklands, in Northern Ireland, in Iraq and Afghanistan are watching a Labour Prime Minister treat their lifelong oath as a joke. Sarah Jenkins, an 82-year-old widow whose husband died in the Falklands War, was interviewed this morning on Good Morning Britain. Her words cut through all the political noise. "My husband gave his life for Queen and country," she said quietly, her voice breaking. "He believed in something bigger than himself. And now I'm watching a Prime Minister mock that sacrifice by treating the Crown like it's worthless. It breaks my heart." The interviewer had tears in her eyes. So did millions watching at home. The contrast is so sharp, so morally offensive, that even traditionally left-leaning voters are questioning everything they believed about modern Labour. We're talking about a party that once understood working people, that defended British values, that respected tradition. And now? Now they're led by a man who seems more interested in dismantling national identity than protecting the citizens who actually need help. And here's where the story takes an even darker turn. Street protests erupted across Britain this afternoon in numbers that caught everyone by surprise. In London, over 15,000 people gathered outside Buckingham Palace, waving Union Jacks and chanting "God Save the King." In Manchester, thousands filled Albert Square demanding Starmer's resignation. Glasgow, Edinburgh, Cardiff, Belfast, every major city saw spontaneous demonstrations. But these weren't organised political rallies with buses and printed signs. These were organic outpourings of public fury. Pensioners who've never protested anything in their lives standing shoulder to shoulder with veterans, with shopkeepers, with ordinary families. One protest organiser in Leeds told reporters, "We didn't plan this. People just started showing up. They're angry, they're hurt, and they want their voices heard." Police estimate that by 6 p.m. tonight, over 75,000 people will have taken to the streets across Britain. That's comparable to the 2003 Iraq War protests. But those took months to organise. This happened in hours. The speed and scale suggest something profound. Starmer hasn't just made a political miscalculation. He's touched a nerve so deep, so central to British identity, that the public response borders on a constitutional revolt. But then something happened that nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, saw coming. Just 25 minutes after Charles delivered his address, he did something unprecedented in the modern constitutional monarchy. He invited senior MPs from all parties, yes, including Labour, to an emergency summit at Buckingham Palace scheduled for tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Not a ceremonial tea, not a photo opportunity. A real constitutional crisis meeting. Palace insiders, speaking on condition of anonymity, reveal that Charles intends to invoke ancient constitutional precedents that haven't been used since the 1832 reform crisis. We're talking about royal powers so old, so rarely discussed, that most constitutional lawyers have never seen them exercised in their lifetimes. One senior royal aide told our sources, "His Majesty is not making a political statement. He's defending the constitutional settlement itself. There's a difference. and the Prime Minister is about to learn what that difference means. The optics are absolutely brutal for Starmer. Here's the king, acting with dignity, inviting dialogue, demonstrating leadership. And there's the Prime Minister, who spent 3 days attacking him, now forced to either attend the summit and face humiliation, or refuse and look like a coward hiding from accountability. Either choice destroys him politically. But wait, there's more. Constitutional experts are now revealing exactly what powers Charles might invoke tomorrow, and the implications are staggering. Dr. Robert Blackstone, Britain's leading constitutional historian, appeared on Channel 4 News this evening and dropped a bombshell. The monarch retains several reserve powers, he explained, including the theoretical ability to dismiss a prime minister who has lost the confidence of Parliament or who threatens the constitutional order. These powers haven't been used in 190 years, but they exist. Think about what that means. Charles could theoretically dismiss Starmer outright. No vote, no election, just royal decree. Now, would he actually do that? Almost certainly not. The political fallout would be catastrophic. But here's the chess move. By even raising the possibility, by inviting MPs to discuss constitutional precedent, Charles is sending an unmistakable message. He's saying, I have options you've forgotten about, and I'm willing to explore them. It's a power play disguised as constitutional scholarship, and it's working brilliantly. Senior Conservative MPs are already publicly stating they would support royal intervention if Starmer continues his reforms. Former Cabinet Minister David Davis told Parliament this afternoon, if the Prime Minister cannot show proper respect for our constitutional monarchy, then perhaps this House needs to reconsider whether he commands the confidence necessary to govern. That's not just criticism, that's a no-confidence motion waiting to happen. The domino effect inside Westminster is accelerating beyond anyone's control. Within an hour of Charles's speech, the parliamentary rebellion began. Transport Secretary Louise High resigned, her statement devastating. I cannot serve in a government that shows such contempt for the constitutional monarchy millions of Britons cherish. 2 junior ministers followed within 90 minutes. Each resignation another hammer blow to Starmer's authority. But here's where it gets really explosive. Chancellor Rachel Reeves, the second most powerful person in government, has gone completely silent. No statements, no television appearances, no supportive tweets. Senior Labour MPs say she's taking meetings, lots of meetings with backbenchers who want Starmer gone. One veteran MP told the BBC anonymously, Rachel's not defending the Prime Minister anymore, she's measuring the curtains for number 10. And Angela Rayner? The Deputy Prime Minister isn't even pretending to support Starmer now. She's been spotted in Westminster corridors, talking quietly with rebel MPs, calming fears, promising stability if when Starmer falls. The WhatsApp groups inside Labour have names like Save the Party and Post-Starmer Planning. These aren't theoretical discussions anymore. These are active coup headquarters preparing for regime change. The question isn't if they'll move against him. It's whether they wait until Friday or strike before tomorrow's royal summit. Inside, number 10 right now, witnesses describe absolute chaos bordering on psychological meltdown. Starmer reportedly spent 2 hours locked in his study after Charles's speech, refusing to speak to anyone. When he finally emerged, aides say he looked destroyed, pale, disheveled, almost unrecognizable. One senior advisor was overheard saying he genuinely believed the country would support him. He thought people wanted this fight. He's completely miscalculated. But Starmer isn't just losing political support. He's losing his closest allies. Shadow cabinet members who stood by him through every scandal, every misstep, are now distancing themselves publicly. Ed Miliband posted a statement praising constitutional stability without once mentioning Starmer's name. David Lammy, normally Starmer's staunchest defender, told Sky News the monarchy serves an important unifying role, a position that directly contradicts everything Starmer said this week. Even union leaders, Labour's traditional power base, are breaking ranks. Sharon Graham from Unite the Union released a statement saying, working people need a government focused on wages and jobs, not constitutional warfare. That's code. Everyone in Westminster knows what it means. Starmer has lost the unions, and without the unions, a Labour leader cannot survive. But here's the layer that could end Starmer's career permanently and reshape British politics for a generation. According to leaked documents obtained by multiple news outlets, Starmer's constitutional reform plans go far beyond what he publicly announced. The documents, allegedly, from a private meeting 3 weeks ago, show proposals to strip the monarchy of veto powers over parliamentary bills, reduce the civil list by 40%, and this is the most explosive part, explore pathways toward a future referendum on abolishing the monarchy entirely within 10 years. If these documents are real, and multiple sources inside Whitehall confirm they are, then Starmer wasn't just criticising royal expenditures, he was laying groundwork to end the British monarchy itself. Think about what that means for a country where 81% of people support the crown. Think about the political suicide of a Labour Prime Minister secretly planning to abolish an institution more popular than any political party in Britain. The optics of that revelation would be absolutely catastrophic. And here's the worst part. The documents were apparently leaked by someone inside Starmer's own inner circle. The betrayal is coming from inside the house. Someone close to the Prime Minister wants him destroyed, and they're feeding ammunition to his enemies systematically. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage is playing this moment like a political grandmaster who's been waiting his entire career for this opening. While Starmer melts down and Labour descends into civil war, Farage stands beside Union Jacks speaking softly about defending British tradition. No mockery, no attacks, just steady, unwavering patriotism. While others seek to divide us, he told a rally this morning, Reform UK will always defend the crown, defend our history, and defend the Britain we love. The polling shift is absolutely staggering. Reform UK has surged to 29% support, according to this afternoon's emergency poll, the highest third-party support in modern British history. Labour has collapsed to 24%. The Conservatives hold steady at 31%. For the first time since the 1920 seconds, Britain faces a genuine three-way race with no clear majority possible. Farage isn't just a protest vote anymore. He's a legitimate contender for Downing Street. And every hour Starmer remains in office, more voters abandon Labour for reform. Disillusioned working-class voters, lifelong Labour families, union members, they're flooding into Reform UK faster than anyone imagined possible. Farage's vision of a political realignment is happening in real time, and it's being accelerated by Starmer's spectacular self-destruction. The international implications are spreading rapidly and making Britain look increasingly isolated. Beyond Canada and Australia's criticism, the European Union has now weighed in. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen released a carefully worded statement this afternoon praising constitutional monarchies as stabilizing forces in democratic societies. That's diplomatic language for Britain. What are you doing? In Washington, sources say State Department officials are privately expressing concern about British political stability. One senior American diplomat told Reuters, "We're watching with growing alarm. Britain has always been our most reliable ally precisely because of their political stability. That's now in question. This matters enormously. Britain's international credibility, its diplomatic influence, its economic relationships all depend on being seen as stable and reliable." Starmer's crisis is making Britain look chaotic and unreliable on the world stage. Foreign investors are taking notice. The pound fell 1.3% against the dollar today, the sharpest single-day drop in 6 months. The FTSE 100 dropped 87 points. Financial analysts are explicitly citing political instability as the cause. Britain's reputation as a safe haven for international investment is being damaged in real time. The next 48 hours will determine whether Britain's political system survives this crisis intact. Tomorrow morning's royal summit at Buckingham Palace could be the most consequential constitutional meeting since the abdication crisis. Charles has the authority, under ancient place precedent, to refuse royal assent to Starmer's proposed legislation. If he does that, if he actually blocks a sitting government's bills, the constitutional explosion would be unprecedented. But if he doesn't, if he backs down now, the monarchy's authority would be permanently weakened. Starmer faces an impossible choice: attend the summit and face public humiliation before the king and rival MPs, or refuse and confirm every accusation that he's a coward who disrespects British institutions. Either path ends his political career. Behind the scenes, Labour MPs are preparing for leadership elections. Rachel Reeves is already drafting her pitch: economic stability, constitutional respect, and a return to traditional Labour values. Angela Rayner is calling potential supporters, promising competence after chaos. The cabinet is fracturing. The party is in open revolt. And Starmer, isolated in number 10, is running out of allies faster than any prime minister in living memory. This isn't just another political scandal that will blow over in a week. this is a fundamental crisis about what Britain is and what it wants to be. A nation of 67 million people is watching their Prime Minister wage war against their king. They're watching centuries of tradition treated with contempt. They're watching their country become a global punchline. International reactions have been brutal. In Canada, Prime Minister Trudeau praised constitutional monarchy as essential to Commonwealth unity, a clear rebuke. In Australia, opposition leaders called Starmer's behaviour disgraceful. Even American media outlets are replaying the crisis with barely concealed shock. Britain, once the world's model of political stability, has become a cautionary tale about what happens when leaders forget that some institutions are bigger than partisan politics. So here's the question that matters right now. Does Keir Starmer survive the weekend, or is his government finished by Friday? Will King Charles actually use ancient constitutional powers, or does his silence win this war? And could Nigel Farage genuinely become Britain's next Prime Minister? Drop your answer in the comments below. Tell us what you think happens next. And if this story shocked you as much as it shocked us, share it with everyone who needs to understand what's really happening to Britain right now. The mainstream media is downplaying this crisis, but we're showing you the full truth. Hit that subscribe button because tomorrow's Royal Summit could change everything. This is the biggest constitutional crisis in 300 years, and we're watching it explode in real time. The next 48 hours will determine Britain's future for generations. Don't miss what happens next.